What's up, YouTube fam? This is your boy, Chef Todd, in the building. And if you are here today, you know you're about to learn some incredible tips and tricks to make your meals at home super flavorful and super delicious. All right? So, I know that being in the kitchen can be super overwhelming. It is something that can stress you out on a regular basis, especially if you don't quite know what you're doing. And if you're here, you can expect to learn some of the awesome tips that I have learned over the years that makes my job easier. Okay? So, before we get started, if you're here, if you clicked on this video, you know what it's about. Okay? And before I even get started with that, I want to share something with you. I despise, I loathe dry, bland, flavorless chicken. Let's be real. Let's be 100%. I hate dry, bland, flavorless chicken. And I know you do too. You hate it on a salad. You hate it in a taco. You hate it in everything. Okay? So we're going to fix that today. And you know how we're going to fix that? With seven tips. 7 tips. That's how we are going to fix that whole process so you have the most perfectly tender, mouth-watering, flavorful, juicy chicken. All right? That's what we're going to do today. So, before we get started, I'm going to put my apron on and then we're going to get this thing rolling. All right? So, let's get started. I'm gonna put my apron on, guys, because I don't want to get my shirt all messy. You know what I'm saying? Gotta protect the shirt. Gotta protect the button up. All right? So I'm tying my apron, putting it on, and we're gonna get started on how to make this amazing sear and bake chicken. We're using the sear and bake method, okay? So that's what we're using today. We are going to sear the chicken first, and then we are going to put it in the oven at 365, okay? So let's get started, all right? So we're gonna step over here in my station where I call this tip number 1, okay? We have 3 standard size chicken breasts right here, skinless, boneless, right? And what I'm going to do, tip number 1 is I'm going to open this package, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse the chicken with some white distilled vinegar, right? And cold water running from the faucet, okay? You got to rinse your chicken. It's important to rinse your chicken because you got to start clean. There's a lot of things that this chicken has been through before it got to your house. Okay, so if it's in a package, it doesn't mean that it's clean. You get what I'm saying? You have to do some of this cleaning yourself if you want your food to taste amazing. Okay, you don't want all the extra residue from everything else in it. So we got to get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to open this package of chicken, put that in there. Good. And what I have in my hand right now is, throw that in the garbage, is I have my paring knife, which there's these little like slimy things that's on the chicken breast. I'm going to take those off and throw those in the garbage, right? And I'm using the paring knife because it's so much easier to handle, all right? And it is small, it fits in your hand, it doesn't have any weight to it, so I can just easily clean the chicken and get it ready, okay? So now I'm gonna turn the water on, right? Turn the water on, put the knife in the sink, and I'm gonna get the distilled white vinegar, right? So here we are. You can see I'm putting about a 1/4 cup of white distilled vinegar with a whole lot of cold water, right? And if you look right away, I'm going to move this around a little bit. These chicken breasts in the package coming out is a little bit cleaner than normal, but look how cloudy that water is. Okay, that's all the juices that it's been sitting in the whole time. I know there's always these advice and instructions not to rinse your chicken, but I'm Caribbean, yo. and you have to rinse the chicken, okay? That's a part of the Caribbean culture. You have to rinse your chicken before you do anything to it, okay? Not just your chicken, but meats and fish, all that, okay? So again, I'm going to rinse this once, good, and then I'm going to put some more cold water in it, and you're gonna see the difference the second time, right? Just one time of rinsing, look at that. The water is super clear. Even when I shake it around a little bit, super clear, because all of that stuff that was in the package is now off the chicken, and you are ready. You are ready. You could do it twice, or you can do it once. As long as the water is clear, you know you're ready. We rinse the chicken breast, then we are going to trim it, which we did. We trimmed it with the paring knife, and now we're going to pat it dry because you need the surface of your chicken to be dry in order to create the most incredible crust. Okay? Trust me, anything that you're gonna sear needs to be dry so that it doesn't create any moisture in the oil and the pan, and you get this incredible crust as the chicken is kissing the bottom of the pan. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's what you want to do. You want to make sure when the chicken in the pan goes on this date, a lot of fireworks happen. Not because it's wet, but because they're enjoying each other's company. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we are done draining the chicken. We let it sit for a second, then drain it a little bit more. What I'm going to do is I get a plate, a nice plate, and I get some paper towel, like 2 plies, and I place the chicken bottom side down on the plate. Good? Right? Just like that. We're going to put that in the sink, and I'm going to wash my hands at this point. I'm going to wash my hands twice because it's important. We don't want any germs from the chicken to make it onto the surfaces that you are using to cook, or the things that you are touching, like the seasonings to season your chicken, right? So there we go. Wash my hands, wipe down this water that was created from that process, and then we are going to take a couple plies of paper towel and pad this chicken dry. We're gonna pad it dry. Good, I said pad. I meant to say pat, okay? So there we go. I put some paper towel on the bottom to make sure that the water is soaking into the paper towel from the bottom of the chicken breast, okay? And then when you get to the top, you just take a loose paper towel and you just continue to dab it. You continue to dab it right there. Good. You dab it until it is entirely dry. Good. Now look at this chicken, right? I want you to look at it really close. You can see the surface. It has a little gloss to it, but if there was water on it, it would look a lot more glossier, but it's dry right now. We have rinsed it, we have patted it dry, and we've also trimmed it. That's the first step in this process, because your chicken's gotta be juicy and you gotta start clean. You know what I'm saying? So a clean chicken gives you a clean taste. It opens up the chicken to all the flavors that you're gonna put on it, okay? Leaving off all the bad stuff that it's been through before it got to you. You gotta give it a shower. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we just patted it dry. We're gonna move this to our second station over here, but guess what? I'm gonna wash my hands again. So, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm probably gonna wash my hands 3 times. So you wanna continue to do these safety precautions so you're not cross-contaminating everything, okay? So over here, we have our seasoning section. This is the second step in making your chicken the most flavorful chicken that you've ever tasted, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different types of seasoning that we're going to use for these chicken breasts. Normally, people tell you, just use some salt and pepper. Okay, salt and pepper, just salt and pepper? Come on now, right? Salt and pepper is good, but you want a little variety on your chicken. That's what creates a different flavor. You need something that's gonna speak to your tongue or speak to you in tongues or make you speak in tongues. You know what I'm saying, right? So this is what we're gonna do. We have some salt, right? I like using Himalayan salt, but you can use whatever you want. I just say I don't really use table salt to season food, okay? Table salt, I think I stopped using table salt when I was like 16, right? So This is what I use right now because I love the flavor and the minerals from pink Himalayan salt, okay? I also have some black pepper. This is where the flavor starts, right here. We have some garlic powder, we have some onion powder, we have some chili powder, and we have some parsley flakes. Now this is dried herbs, but I would suggest dry herbs is definitely needed. I have this in my kitchen as a standard all the time, but you also need some fresh herbs if you're going to mix it up a little bit, okay? But today we're just gonna start with dry herbs. This is a dried parsley flakes, all right? This is what we're gonna use, all right? So we're gonna get into this seasoning process, right? What I'm gonna do, take my salt first, and I hit that couple turns, couple shakes, all right? About four shakes. That's about a little bit less than 3 teaspoons of salt. Good? Because it's 3 of them. Okay? What's going to go next is my pepper. And getting that nice and peppery. And I'm starting this on the show side of the chicken. Not the underside, but the show side. I'm going to take a little less than a teaspoon of garlic powder. And do the same thing with the onion powder. Good. And then I'm going to hit it with some chili powder, which is not spicy. Contrary to everyone's belief, chili powder, I know it has the name of a pepper that is really hot. But guess what? This is something that adds depth and flavor to your chicken or to any sauce or to anything that you are searing. This is really good, right? We're not going to put a lot on there. We're just going to sprinkle a little bit. Good. There we go. And then we are going to hit this with some dried parsley flakes. We're going to finish. Woo! Outtake. Again, we have our culprit right here, Mr. Parsley Flakes, who likes to dive. I'm about to dive in. Whoa. Right? We're not going to do that again. We just need a couple sprinkles of our parsley flakes. There we go. All right? Not even a teaspoon, right? You just need a little snowflake effect, right? To just sprinkle on that. Okay, that's what we're doing. But the last thing in this step that we're adding is some olive oil. Good. We're gonna add like a little less than a teaspoon of olive oil on there, and we're going to massage each chicken breast and make sure all the seasoning is all over the chicken breast, right? You can also season both sides, but that's okay. We're gonna start with one side right now. Good. Here we go. Nice. Right? Also, the oil sort of helps it to help the seasoning stick to, you're not using a lot, but it helps the seasoning stick to your chicken breast, right? And your chicken breast should look like this, right? Look at that. Already, right? It looks nice and perfect, right? Look at the chicken breast. It's perfect, right? It's about to be bomb. I'm gonna wash my hands again because we're about to get the third step into this process. All right, we're in step number 3 and we're gonna get this done. Right? If I wasn't talking to you about steps and how to do this, you could probably get this done in about 22 minutes. So we have our chicken breast seasoned. At this point, what we are going to do is heat our pan. Okay, we're going to heat our pan and we're going to turn the stove on, and we're also going to set our oven at 365. So our chicken breast is seasoned, and what's next is we are going to sear it in a skillet. Now we're going to turn our pan on to a little past 6, so it's about at 7. All right. We're going to put that on 7. We're going to heat it up gradually rather than introduce it to all this heat right away, so your pan gets way too hot way too fast. Okay? So we want our pan to gradually heat up, and then we put the oil in it. After seasoning your chicken is to make sure your pan and your oil is hot. That's number 3. Okay? That's tip number 3. But the reason why I heat the pan up first is because the pan must be hot. The oil must be hot in order to get the best crust onto your chicken. It's so important. That's why it's a tip. Okay? Right? So, this is the show side. This is what everyone's going to see when you plate your dish. So you want to put the show side down first before you sear the opposite side. What I'm going to do is take the chicken breast and lay it down. It's going to touch the pan first. And what I'm going to do is lay it down. Right? Nice and easy. Right? From the tip to the top. Do the same thing. Good. And once you have set these in the pan like that, you don't touch them. You want to make sure they have you want to make sure they have space, but you do not touch them. Let's put this in the sink. And immediately after you put your chicken breast in the pan, you can smell the flavors of what you're going to eat. Like immediately. That's how you know you're making flavorful food, right? You smell it. All the aroma of the combination of seasonings and fresh herbs, you smell it right away. Also, nice little tip, okay? When you put the chicken breast in the pan, because it's been sitting at room temperature, the temperature of the pan falls, okay? So what's going to happen is you have to adjust the heat just a little bit to bring the temperature of the pan back up, and then you could turn it back down, all right? Once you see that the chicken is back, or the temperature of the pan has returned, right? So there we go. We turn up the knob a little bit. We just gave it a notch up to 8 to bring up that temperature. And I'm continuing to temper the pan by rotating it. Good. And rocking it back and forth to make sure the oil and the pan are contacting the chicken, right? Here is the next step, okay? Here is the next step. It's very important, right? Before you flip the chicken, right? When you are cooking or searing chicken, you sear it on one side for either 4 to 5 minutes, depending on the size of the chicken, okay? So right now, we've been searing this chicken for about 3.5, maybe 4 minutes, okay? It's forming a crust between the pan and the show side of the chicken, right? There's a crust forming around the chicken. That's when you know it's time to flip the chicken. You don't touch it until that crust is formed. It's very important. That's why it's a tip. This is tip number 5, okay? Here we go. The crust is forming around the chicken, and this is how you can tell when it's time to flip the chicken. If you see the crust right there, I'll bring it up, and right there, at the tip of the chicken, you can see the crust, right? There's this nice crust forming around the chicken. Look under, you can see it under, especially that chicken over there where the oil is pooling right now, right? You can see that crust under there. You're getting a nice crust. So now is the perfect time to flip your chicken. Ooh, that is a perfect, see that crust right there? Man. That's beautiful, right? So you see how I'm handling the pan, right? When you're in the kitchen, you're not really cooking, right? The heat is really cooking the food. You're just managing the heat. That's very important. You're managing the heat that's going through the pan, right? So if you pick it up, you release the heat. You temper it, okay? Put it back down, direct heat. You're getting direct heat. So I'm just going to flip this one too. Right? And again, don't touch it. You know the rule. Don't touch it once you flipped it. Right? After you've seared the second side, what you want to do is you want to hold the chicken breast and make sure you get around the edges a little bit before you put it in the oven. All right? So this is the searing process before it goes in the oven. Right? This is one of the most important part of getting the most flavor out of your chicken breast. Man, it's so important. Like, searing is one way to lock in flavor into your chicken breast, like especially on the outside, right? Once you season it with different types of seasoning, not just salt and pepper, you create this crust from the chicken breast touching the bottom of the pan, and those seasonings that you added, like creating this nice crunchy crust that you are going to enjoy when it hits your tongue, right? And your teeth are going to be like, yes, when did you make this? I love it. Can you make it again, over and over again? And your family's going to be like, yo, can I have more of this? You made it. This is the best you've ever made it before because of these tips that I'm showing you, right? So we're getting the sear. If you sear your chicken on one side for about 4 minutes or 5 minutes, you're only going to need to do it 3 minutes or 4 minutes on the second side, because the pan is already, it went from lower temperature when you put the room temperature chicken in there, seasoned chicken in there, and now you've raised the temperature a little bit. Now the pan is at a temperature that's not going to change because the chicken is now at the pan temperature, okay? So our chicken is almost done, right? Again, we've been searing the other side for about 4 minutes or 3 minutes right now, right? That's a perfect sear on the other side, right? I'm gonna hit that one that I turned around a little bit too quickly, a little bit more, and get some sear on the outside corners or on the outside of each chicken. So I put it on the side, right? I flipped it on the side, and I only want it there for a little bit, right? Because the pan is like extremely hot. The chicken is almost cooked, so you don't need it. You just need a little bit of that touch from the heat and the oil from the pan to get that crust on the corners, all right? That's good, all right? We're getting all the sides. We're almost done. I'm gonna even turn this stove off right now, right? Turn that off. We are done. Now all that is left is to put this in a baking pan and put it in the oven that we've already preheated to 365 to bring it the internal temperature up to 150, all right? So here's my baking pan, right? It is 11 by 7 by 1.5 inches, right? Deep. And this is what I'm gonna use to finish the sear and bake method, right? I'm gonna put the chicken breast in this pan and bake it for 10 additional minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the size of your chicken breast, okay? So I'm going to remove each chicken breast from the pan. Good, and we have, remove that. Remove the skillet from the stove, right? And we have 3 chicken breasts seared and ready to go. 1 lightly seared and 2 perfectly seared. We are going to put it in the oven for an additional 10 to 15 minutes, all right? So I think this is gonna be about 12 minutes. And then I'm gonna share the secret with you, a bonus secret. Stick around. Don't go to another video. Stick around, because this secret is important, especially if you don't have one of these. So this is a thermometer that you need to make sure that your chicken is at 150 in order for it to be nice and juicy. But I'm going to teach you how to read if your chicken is at 150 without this thermometer. All right? That's the secret. So stick around. Okay? Here we go. It's going in the oven. Move this out the way. Put that in the oven. Right? All right, guys, our chicken has been in the oven for about 12 minutes, and we're going to take it out and share that secret that I told you, I promised you. It's a bonus tip that's going to tell you when your chicken is done if you do not have a thermometer, okay? So I'm gonna take it out. First, I gotta get my thermometer. What did I do with it? Here we go. It's right here, don't worry. I know where I put it. Right here, we're ready, right? So I'm gonna take my mittens. Hello, my name is Mitt Mitt. All right, so what I'm gonna do is bring it down here, and here's how you know your chicken is done without a thermometer, right? When you are baking your chicken, there is juices that are released from your chicken. And if you see the juices coming out of the chicken right now, that's what's happening. You're cooking the chicken internally. So all the juices are being pushed out of the chicken. But once all the juices get pushed out of the chicken, it starts to create this reduction mark around the chicken. Once that reduction mark starts to form on the bottom of the pan, that's how you know your chicken is done. If that reduction mark starts to turn dark brown, that means your chicken is starting to go from moist to really dry. And that's what I hate. Okay? So that is the tip that tells you when your chicken is done and it's moist. So there we go. Your chicken is done. And what I'm going to do is stick this. Let me turn this around, touching it nice and soft, right? Because it's warm, it's hot, right? And what I'm going to do is stick the thermometer into the thick part of the chicken, and it's going to shoot up to 150, a little bit more. So between it's a little bit over 150, but it's at 165, but it still should be juicy. This is the last tip. Okay, before you even start slicing the chicken up, you gotta let it rest for all the juices to flow back into the chicken, right? So the heat from cooking it has stopped, it has paused. Now, because the chicken was pushing all the juices out of it, you gotta let the juices flow back in. So you gotta let it sit. The last tip is to let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes. And then once you cut into it, you will see the moist, the flavorful, the delicious, the mouth-watering chicken that you are going to enjoy and your family is going to enjoy. That's what we're doing today, and that's what we're going to achieve. Our chicken is resting, and we're just going to chop that bad boy up and put it on the salad that I was making while it was cooking. Okay, so let's cut into it. It's been about 1.5 to 2 minutes. That's perfect. Let's do that real quick. Put this chicken right there, and I'm gonna bring this. Ooh, look at that baby right there. Look at that baby. That's a nice baby. That's a flavorful baby. That's a tender baby. Here we go. Here we go. Ooh, look at that. That is perfect. So we're gonna hold it. Oh, look, I'm gonna show you something that, ooh, the juices. Look at this thing right here. Look at the juices. You see the juice in that? That's what you want. Okay, I'm so excited to cut into this thing right now. So here we go. We're gonna cut it at an angle, right? Because that's what we need to make our food, presentation of our food, even more interesting, right? And once I finish cutting into this, I'm going to show you how tender this bad boy is. Okay, so there we go. Our chicken is nice and cut. I'm going to take a piece out of it. I'm going to touch it because I'm going to eat this, right? And I'm going to put it on top right here. Good. And you're going to see how tender this thing is, right? Look at the juice coming out of that. Good. Look at that juice. When I touch it, that's how juicy it is. And it's cooked all the way through. Good. That's a juicy piece of chicken. I'm telling you. And the flavor is on point. Okay. So I'm going to put this back where it was before. Good. And what I'm going to do is put this thing on the salad that we are using it for. Good. So if you need it, it will be, you can just pick it up and put it on your salad. Good. And there we go. You just need some dressing and you're good. Let me put this over here so you can see it a little better. Oof, look at that. That is a beautiful, juicy, flavorful, mouth-watering chicken on your salad. Okay? So that is your video for today, right? And if you want to continue this journey to get better in the kitchen with all the tips that I'm sharing, videos on top of video that's coming in the future, guess what you gotta do? You know, every YouTuber says this, so I'm gonna say it as well because you know we gotta grow as a family. This is about us, right? We gotta feed the family right? And in order to do that, you gotta subscribe, you gotta like this video, and you gotta share it with your friends and click the notification bell so you can be told and alarmed saying, what? Rishone just dropped a video. Comment as well. Let me know if you have any other tips that you use to make your chicken breast mouth-watering, tender, delicious, and flavorful. Okay? Also, let me know if you learned anything new from this video today, and we can chat about it in the comments, okay? But before we go, you know we gotta taste this thing, because I hate videos that make something and don't taste it at the end. So come on over here, let's taste it, right? I cut up the other piece of chicken, right, the other small one. I'm just gonna taste the middle piece. Let me take that off. Here we go. Here we go, the taste shot. Boom, you see the steam coming off of that? Man, I love the chicken that I make. I love it. It's so flavorful. You're gonna love it too when you taste it at home. So stay tuned for more videos. That's it. The most mouth-watering, perfectly tender, not dry, flavorful, juicy chicken that you will ever have. Thank you guys for tuning in to my first video. Peace out. Thank you guys.